Welcome to the David and the Bear podcast with your boy, Devon Red. Let's have a good time. Yes, sir. Welcome back, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for tuning in to the David and the Bear podcast, episode number 2. Yes, sir. Chee. So anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. For those of y'all who could tune into episode 1, the intro, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And if y'all are tuning into episode 2 for the first time after hearing about the podcast, I don't know what to tell y'all, to be honest. Like, go to episode 1, bro. Like, why are you gonna skip to episode 1? Episode 2, bro. Like, hello? I'm just like. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. A little life update from the last time that we talked. So, I am actually going to be possibly going to Missouri on May 18th till August 13th. So, I'm still working out some kinks in regards to that and all that kind of stuff on whether or not I'm actually going. And then also in regards to, like, if I can take my podcast stuff. If I can take my podcast stuff, that'd be great. Very lovely. But if not, y'all might be without me for 3 months. I know some people gonna cry and all that kind of stuff, but it's okay, guys. Nah, just like. But anyway, yeah, so I might be doing some freelance photography work up there for a church camp there and whatnot. So I hope it goes through as planned. But, you know, God's timing is good timing, and God's timing is always the perfect timing. So with that being said, I'll be keeping y'all in the loop in regards to that. Also, some other life updates. I am probably going to be getting a new wheelchair sometime soon. Yes, sir. So when that comes around, it's probably going to be like 2 to 8 weeks before I get a new one and all that kind of stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? Because the old wheelchair, it's kind of raggedy. And yeah, like, she's gonna fall apart tomorrow kind of stuff. So, and then the other fun stuff that's happening in my life is that might be getting a car sometime soon. So yeah, but I'm gonna be traveling around and doing all kinds of different stuff. And that also means that I might be doing some podcasts outside of my room. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all once again from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate all of y'all who tune into the podcast. I've had over 20 listeners over the past week and a half. So honestly, numbers like that, the fact that I have more than 10 listeners is crazy. But so with that being said, we are going to head into our devotion for this week. Like I said, I always like to do a devotion or a soapy in the episode. And once again, SOAPI stands for Scripture, Observation, Application, Prayer, and a Yes, Lord. So our scripture for today is going to be out of Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 19 through 22. And I'm going to go ahead and read it. If y'all wanted to follow along, it's going to be Ecclesiastes 3, 19 through 22 in the New King James Version of the Bible. Y'all can follow along with that, with whatever version y'all want to. So, 19. For what happens to the sons of men also happens to animals. One thing befalls them, as one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath, and man has no advantage over animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place, all are from the dust, and all return to dust. Who knows the spirit of the sons of men, which goes upward, and the spirit of the animal, which goes down to the earth? So I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his heritage. For who can bring him to see what will happen after him? So for those of y'all who don't know, the book of Ecclesiastes is written by a very, very well-respected man named King Solomon. And for those of y'all who don't know about Solomon and his history and who he is, he's King Solomon. He is King David's son. He who inherited the throne of Israel and all that kind of great stuff. And he was considered and is the wisest person to walk the face of the planet. God asked him, what do you want? And he said, I want wisdom. So God gave him the wisdom beyond his years. And he was the wisest man to ever walked the face of the planet from the people before him, and he is the wisest to have ever lived from the people after him. So nobody is wiser. And with that being said, if you look at Ecclesiastes, the way it's set up and the way it's built, is that word vanity is used probably 40,000 times in this book, literally. If you look at the very first verse of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, or the second verse, it goes, "Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." So looking at that, it's like, for a wise man, he wasn't that happy. And to be honest, taking a look at this verse or these verses, the scripture that I want to harp in on is going to be Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 22. "So I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for this is his heritage. For who can bring him to see what will happen after him?" So with that being said, I feel like in our old section, if y'all are taking notes, honestly, it's better than what most people do. But in our old section, what I can observe from this scripture is that really Solomon's saying that nothing in this life is gonna matter when you die, bro. Like, nothing that you build, nothing that you buy, because at the end of the time, you can't take it with you. So keeping that in mind, it's like, rejoice in the works that you have done, because at the end of the day, that's what your history is, your heritage. That's what you're passing down for generations to generations. It's like pretty much taking yourself into the third person as like, hey, so what am I gonna be remembered as? And I heard this saying in either a movie or somebody told me, I think, something like that. That sure, your life, when people are writing on your headstone, right? You see like words like, oh, he was trustworthy, he was a father, she was a mother, he was a brother, he was a cousin, he was good. All of those words wouldn't be placed on there if it wasn't for that dash, that little small dash between the year that you were born and the year that you died. What did you do on that dash that allowed those words to be written on your headstone? I might be saying the stone wrong, but bear with me. And thinking about that, it really brings this verse into perspective, because it's like, are you happy in the things that you're doing, in the works that you're doing, pretty much? Are you happy with it? Are you okay? Like, do you find joy in the work that you're doing? Because at the end of the day, that's your history, bro. That's what you're gonna be remembered as. That's what you're gonna be remembered by. Are you gonna be remembered as the, oh yep, I'm just Devon Red, and I did sad things. I was a sad worker. Or, oh, are you gonna be remembered as, hey, that's John. He was always happy coming to work. His work seemed to enlighten him. So with that being said, the way that I can apply this to my life, and I feel like the way that we can apply this to our lives, is that we're gonna do things that make us happy, that make us rejoiceful. Cause that's the cool thing about the Bible, especially like looking at verses like this. It's like God really took his time and said, hey, if it makes you happy, bro, do it. Granted, don't be doing stuff like, selling drugs and all kinds of stuff. If that makes you happy, bro, do it. He said, no, I didn't say to do any of that. It has to be legal, of course, and has to be, in accordance with God. But it's one of those things. If picking up trash on the side of the street makes you happy, bro, go do it, dog. Because at the end of the day, it's your heritage. You're not here for anybody else but yourself. You're not here to, at the end of the day, it's you. Your history is gonna be on that headstone. So do things that you'd be proud of at the end of the day. Like looking at yourself from a third person out of body experience. Are you happy that you're picking up trash on the side of the road? Are you happy that, you're playing sports in college? Or are you happy in the job that you're doing, even though it might be a job at a grocery store? Or who knows, you might be a CEO of a company. Oh, and you're not happy there. Hey, do things that make you happy, bro. Do things that you can rejoice in. Do things that you find joy in. And for our prayer, I pray that in my life and also the people that are listening, that they find joy in the things that they do. They're able to rejoice in the things that they do. And God, if they can't rejoice in the things that they do, take those things away from their life and allow them to do things or bring them things that they can rejoice in, works that they can rejoice in, because like the scripture says, it's our history, it's our heritage. And our yes, Lord, is that, hey, yes, Lord, I will do things that I can rejoice in. So in our next section of the episode, we're gonna be talking about some things that aren't really joyful. It hits home, and it can hit home for a lot of people. We're gonna be talking about some domestic violence and stuff like that. And like I said in the first episode of the podcast, that if you're going through something, please, please, please don't be afraid to reach out. The number for the domestic violence support line is 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. And this is not a paid segment by any of the organizations that I'm about to share out. This is just me putting those numbers out there just in case somebody's going through anything that I'm about to share here, or worse, or anything of that nature, because y'all shouldn't be going through that anyway, and y'all don't have to be alone. So once again, you can call 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233, and you can also text START to 88788. Once again, text START to 88788. They are open 24/7. They're ready to help y'all reach out in any way. And then also, if y'all are going through stuff like that, or if y'all are just going through anything that's in life that's weighing y'all down, please, please, please don't be afraid to reach out to either me on the David and the Bear podcast Instagram page, or honestly anybody that y'all can. And if y'all feel like y'all don't have anybody to reach out to, please call 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Once again, their number is 92888. They're open 24/7, and they keep it free. It's free and it's confidential. And they're willing to support you through everything that y'all need. So, with that being said, once again, please, please, please do not feel like you're alone. So, growing up, like I said, we're gonna talk about domestic violence. Growing up, I was in and around abuse all my life, and it's not fun. Like, it's a sad thing to say and sit here and think about. My stepdad at the time used to physically abuse us. I have a scar in the middle of my chest from it. He used to mentally abuse us. Me and my siblings and my mom, and I would never, ever, ever blame my mom for anything that happened to us, like, ever in my entire life. And just sitting here, like, thinking about it, and a few times, like, my mom has cried to me because she felt like it was her fault and she could have done more. And I would never, ever blame my mom for anything, because it's not her. It was never her fault. No human being should look upon another human being and want to inflict violence on them. And it was tough growing up and all that kind of stuff, and being told that I was gonna be nothing more than a bum on the street selling drugs, and I was gonna be another no good black guy that couldn't amount to anything. And so I didn't like it, so I started running away. I started that actually my 8th grade year. To be honest, within the span of like 3 months, I probably ran away about 7 to 8 times. And that's the crazy part too, that I almost became a felon because of it. Because, a certain amount of misdemeanors adds up to a felony, and running away as a child is considered a misdemeanor. So I almost became a felon, and that wouldn't have looked good on anything, to be honest. And so I finally ran away for the last time. I ended up going to my Uncle Domi's house. Big shout out to him. I love him with everything that I got. Him and my auntie Davina. I love those. I love them. They've played a crucial role in my life. I probably won't be able to get them on the podcast, unfortunately, but they're background people anyway. They like to stay in the background. So, but like I said, big shout out to them. I appreciate them and love them. Um, so I ended up living with my uncle them for like 3 years. That was my eighth grade year, like that midway through my eighth grade year. So I think that's like 12, 13. I think I don't know how to do math with when it comes to grades and all kind of stuff. But like 12 to 13 until my sophomore years, until or to the ending of my sophomore year. So summer, going into the summer of my junior year. So I was probably about 12, 13 to age of 16, right around there. And so I ended up living with them. And one day I ran away from their house because I had gotten in trouble. And mind you, my thing was, oh, whenever there was conflict or trouble, I'm out. I'm running away. And they had never done anything wrong to me or anything like that. So I was running away on my own accord with nothing done to me. And it was because my friend ended up getting caught or getting in trouble from his dad. And at the time, I asked him for his iPad for the weekend so I could text my girlfriend at the time. And kids, don't fall in love early, or don't think that you're falling in love early. Because a lot of times, unless you're those one in a million people, your high school relationships are probably never going to last. I mean, go ahead, test out love and whatever, but it's probably not gonna last. That's what I found out quickly. But anyway, so I ended up getting in trouble because of that, and then so my friend ended up coming down the street because he got in trouble from his dad because of something that happened at his house. So he came down the street and ended up getting ended up asking my auntie for my iPad back. He was like, "Oh yeah, Devon, get my iPad." This, that, and the third. I'm like, "Bro, there's no way," because I heard him too. And then so my auntie comes into my room. "Devon, where is iPad stay? Blah blah blah. This, that, and the third. Gosh, what you doing?" Boom. I was like, "Cool. I'm in trouble, dog. I'm out skis." So I gave my iPad. I gave the iPad to my cousin. Whole cousin, I was gone. So I ended up running away from the house and crazy. I ended up asking one of my friends for bus fare and all that kind of stuff. And then next thing you know, end up going to what is that thing called? It's probably another city for those of y'all in Hawaii. I was living in town at the time and ended up going to Aiel. I believe it's probably like I want to say 10 to 15 miles away from town, maybe even more. Ended up going to Aiel, got off the bus and called my uncle. I was like, "Hey, Uncle Domi, I want to come home." He was like, "Okay, come home then." So I ended up getting back on another bus, coming home, and I was gonna go into the house, and my uncle was already sitting outside. He was like, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, "Oh, into the house." He was like, "Hey, negative. Let's go to the park." So I'm thinking, mind you, I'm like, bro, I'm about to get my butt beat in a public park late at night. I'm like, come on, guy. No, don't do this to me, please, right? No. So he ended up telling me, "Hey, get on the line." So I got on the line. He was like, "Yeah, run." He like, "Run away. Here you go. You can run all you like." No, I was like, bro, no way this guy think I'm joking, you know? Because, come on. Mind you, this is probably like my second, third year living with my uncle. So my uncle never did hit us. Every time we got in trouble, we would do physical exercise. So push-ups, sit-ups, squats, everything. Like, and it wasn't like 10. It was like 100 to 200 push-ups, sit-ups. I think the craziest number I got was like 1,000. Oh, that was wild. It took me like 4 days to complete that. But anyway, so he ended up making me run and all that kind of stuff, and then he finally sat me down on the side, and we probably sat there for a good half an hour to an hour, and he says, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Oh, Yvonne." He was like, "What's your name?" He was like, "Oh, Yvonne Red." He was like, "Is your name ever gonna change?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Exactly. So no matter how far you run, no matter how far you try and get away from your problems, Devon problems are still gonna be Devon problems. You're gonna be in a different state. You're still gonna have Devon problems. When you come back, you're still gonna have Devon problems. So stop running from your problems and face them head on. And sitting there with that kind of opened up my mind because I was like, I never thought about it like that. Like, to be honest, like I said earlier, every time that I ran into a problem, I ran away because it was an easy outlet. It was an easy thing to do. I didn't have to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, face it. So I'm like, I'm out, bro. And just hearing that was like, oh, kind of like a, that light bulb moment, or that moment where it's like, life is different now. And tying that into a quote that I seen from a good guy, Winston Churchill. Well, I don't know how good of a guy he was, but Winston Churchill, for my history buffs out there, that famous guy from Britain during World War II. He says, if you're going through hell, keep on going. And I feel like that's so true, because why are you gonna stop in hell, bro? Keep going, dog. Don't stop at a resting stop just because you can. And don't just run away from your problems just because you can. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And just because that's an easy way out doesn't mean it's the way out you should take. And with that being said, like I said in the beginning, if y'all are going through anything like domestic violence, abuse, and all that kind of stuff, please, please, please feel free to call 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. And they can get you some help. Help, I have learned, is never a bad thing. Because a lot of us like to do things on our own, by ourselves, and for ourselves. That is never a bad thing, to get help. Because, to be honest, more times than not, we need it. And if y'all feel like texting instead of calling, by all means, they have a number. Text START to 888-788. Once again, text START to 888-788, and they'll be able to connect y'all. And like I said, if y'all feel like it's the end of the road for you and you don't want to do this anymore, please feel free to reach out to 988. Once again, it's 988. It's a suicide and crisis lifeline. Please, 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 please don't ever feel like you're alone. Both of those numbers are open 24/7. And like I said earlier, I'm not doing this because I'm getting paid to. I'm doing this because everybody needs somebody to reach out to. And my DMs are always open. My David and the Bear podcast DMs are open. My Photos by Red DMs are open. If you ever feel like you need to talk to somebody, please, please, please reach out to me. I'm always willing to be a listening ear. I'm always willing to give advice. So, with that being said, I love you guys. Please, 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 like I said, please don't ever be afraid to reach out. And some closing remarks in regards to this episode. At the end of this, not the end of this month, actually a day after I post this episode, which is going to be February 14th, I leave to Hawaii on the 15th to go to, I have some funerals to attend, my family and whatnot. It's in fact, both of the people that died kind of played a heavy role into my life too, and kind of took me aback hearing that they passed and whatnot. But they're off to a better place. Also, please check out the Instagram page, the David and the Bear page on Instagram. I post live videos every time or the day before I'm about to post, as I do final post edits and all that kind of stuff. I go live on there. If y'all engage, I probably go live on there for a good 15 to 20 minutes or until I feel like we're good to go. If y'all don't engage, I'm probably on there for a good 5 to 10 minutes, just giving y'all a heads up on some things that are coming up in my life and whatnot. And then last but certainly not least, I do plan on having guests being on the podcast by at least episode 4 or 5. And with that being said, I love y'all. like we discussed in the episode, please don't be afraid to reach out. My DMs are always open for both questions, comments, concerns about the episode, and for the questions and comments and all that kind of stuff. If y'all leave questions and comments in my DMs, I probably won't respond. I can't even English right now. I probably won't respond to them. I'll like them, and then I'll respond to them on the next podcast episode in the beginning, where I do like life updates and all that kind of stuff. I'll like it. I'll acknowledge you. I'll be like, oh, thank you for reaching out. That question or concern will be answered on the next podcast episode. And honestly, if y'all have any critiques on anything, please let me know. Please don't be afraid to critique me, because if we live in a world without critiques, then nobody will get better. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I love y'all. Stay blessed out there. And thank you for tuning in to the David and the Bear podcast. Thank you for listening to the David and the Bear podcast, where every story ends in victory. Yes, sir.